What's up, hoarders? Today we're talking about Darkfall, Rise of Agon, a new, old MMORPG. And I say new because it's releasing tomorrow, and old because it was originally released back in 2009. So this is a game that it had its heyday over a decade ago, but a lot of dedicated players have contributed towards making it come back to live servers. So what is Darkfall and why should you care? Darkfall has a couple unique aspects that set it apart from lots of other games. First of all, the combat is straight up FPS combat. You can see here on the screen, you have to aim everything. It's not tab target. You don't just hit tab, click a button, and your abilities automatically hit. You have to aim all of your melee attacks, all of your ranged attacks, both magic and bow and arrow. It actually goes into first person mode when you do magic and bow attacks. Like right here, you can see I'm in first person with my staff, casting my spells. You have to aim those projectiles. If you have crap aim, you're gonna suck at combat. So the combat's definitely not for the faint of heart, not for people that are in love with tab target. It's a departure from the standard, but it's a lot of fun. As basic as it looks. And once you get into the PvP, because that's another major foundational core principle of this game, is it is essentially a action PvP empire building MMORPG. And what I mean by that is there are over 100, maybe not over 100, maybe close to 100 towns and hamlets that players and player guilds can take control of in the game. So basically trying to conquer the entire world is the goal of this game. And that's pretty ambitious. I mean, there aren't really any other MMORPGs where the goal is to conquer the world. There's ones that are sort of similar, like New World, Ashes of Creation's doing something a little bit similar, but here just straight up go to the town, conquer it, and it's yours, and someone else has to take it from you. It's a pretty crazy core mechanic. And in addition to that, in a lot of the world, the PvP is full loot. So there are different zones. There's, I believe the blue zone is the starter zone where you don't drop anything when you die. Then there's kind of a intermediate yellow zone where you'll drop things not equipped when you die. And then there's a red zone where if you die in the red zone, you're dropping all of your gear and everything in your bag. So this game is all about risk versus reward, because as you get into the yellow and the red zones, that's where all the best stuff is. So if you want to try to get the best stuff in the game, you have to go into the red zone and risk losing everything you have on your player at that time. So it's an experience that you just don't get in 99% of the games out there in the MMORPG market. I'll show you here what I was talking about with the ranged combat. Once you pull out a staff or a bow, it goes into first person. You have to physically aim. So you'll see here, you've got the little crosshair on the screen, pretty similar to any type of FPS game. And when I'm missing, I'm missing. So you got to practice your FPS skills for the combat in this game. Or you can just go melee. Although I believe there are some enemies that stay at range, so you're going to have to need range combat at some point. The game has crafting and gathering. I believe most of the gear in the game is going to be player made. You can buy basic gear from NPCs, but anything of note is going to be created by another player. Trade and the economy are supposed to be a big part of this game. But you can see here, the gathering is pretty standard. You equip the appropriate tool, you go up to the resource, and you click on it, and it gathers it. Unfortunately, not every single tree can be chopped. You have to find the trees that have a health bar, and the same goes for gathering. You can see here, when you find a bush that has health, you can chop it with your sickle and collect various things like cotton and berries. So The preview was only for a short time this past weekend, so I didn't get a chance to try out the crafting, but this was the gathering. Another thing that I thought was really cool from this preview was I found a shovel, and you can literally just dig in the ground and find stuff. I'm assuming they've expanded this to include, like, you know, hidden and buried treasures places. I'm just digging in this random place here and I'm finding potatoes. I'm assuming potatoes are used in cooking or planting, something along those lines, or maybe you just eat them for health. I also dug up dirt. So also these trolls came and interrupted me, so F them. I showed them what's up though, so it's all good. Dead trolls are good trolls. There are mounts in the game. They are acquired through taming animals or taming mobs. Taming is one of the many skills in the game. I didn't tame this one. I literally just found it chilling in a hamlet and no one was around. So I yoinked it and went for a ride. But the world's pretty big. Mounts increase your movement speed, so they're useful. And there's a wide variety too. I've seen people riding all kinds of different things in the game. Even though Rise of Agon is more of a sandbox type game, it does actually have questing. So you go up to an NPC, there'll be a quest tab, you click on it. Sometimes they have quests, sometimes you don't. I'm assuming you can unlock quests and things like that by raising standing or something. But you go there, you get the quest, you turn them in at the same NPC, and you get your reward. Pretty standard, but I just thought I'd mention it since lots of sandboxes are light on the quests. While I was exploring the world, I simply was running around from things that looked like they were something on the map. So this one looked like a little point of interest. It says Heart of Vienna on the map. It says 23 minutes. I get here and it's literally a closed trade outpost. So there must be like trade routes and things in the game. And you see here, start trade route. So this was a feature I didn't get to try out, but it adds another layer of depth and complexity to the whole world, which is pretty cool. Now, the game, as I mentioned earlier, is PvP centric. So while you're out and about doing your stuff, you have to always be aware there could be someone waiting to gank you. It's just a part of the game. Lots of the workarounds for that are, you know, travel in packs, have friends, get a guild, do group content. But, you know, you're in a dungeon looking for loot. People could come try to, you know, just surprise attack you from behind. You can see here, I had just killed this enemy. I was about to loot it, and this guy runs up and he thinks he wants somebody. Then he realizes very quickly he doesn't want some. I think he saw how much damage I was taking versus how much damage I was doing and decided it was better to run, live, and fight another day. But just like I said, it's a PvP game. If you hate PvP, it's probably not the game for you. But if you like PvP, you should definitely try it because the stakes are super high in this game. But there you go. This was my only encounter with PvP in my brief preview weekend. While I was out exploring the world, I came across this giant monster that I assume is some kind of world boss or something. There was a guy kiting him around in circles, so I decided to pop off a few shots and see if I could help him out. What I was not expecting was my my intro mage, whatever magic bolts to get aggro on this thing. But I succeeded in pissing him off, and he started popping shots back in my way. So I figured I'm always a melee guy, so you know I was just testing out the range stuff. But I grab my sword and I go in for a few hits, and we're gonna see how this goes. Now keep in mind, this is the first time I've ever played the game. I have no idea what's happening. I have no idea what I'm doing. But I'm hitting this guy. And if you noticed, in the background, a couple other people show up during this encounter. When I started, it was just one guy kiting. So the boss hits me pretty hard. And I decide, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And then I see some arrows coming my way. So these guys, I basically, I think I was screwing up their boss fight. And I didn't realize it. So he came over to kind of give me a stern warning saying, you know, back off or we're going to kill you. Like I said, I didn't realize I was messing anything up. I chilled. I let them do their thing. But it was kind of cool to see other players doing. I don't know. This can't be in-game content because the thing didn't kill me in one hit. But it's some kind of boss content that took multiple people to take down. So it was cool just to be out exploring the world and just run across this boss fight. Exploration is a big thing of mine on my list of things I like in games. And this world is big enough with enough points of interest that it seems like exploration it's going to be there for everyone. So if you like the unknown, because I don't think there's a wiki for this game yet, at least, this is definitely the game for you. It's a game where knowledge is power. So the things you figure out, you keep within your guild, and it gives you the advantage over other players. And as long as there's no wiki, which, cross your fingers, there won't be one, then there's going to be a lot of things to discover and learn for the first time. One thing I haven't mentioned yet that's pretty unique to this game, not the first game to do it, but one of the only games to do it, is there are no classes. It's a skill system, and there's no levels either. So you're not a level 10 fighter or a level 20 mage or whatever. You're just a character, and whatever your skill levels are determine how good you are at things. So there are over 100 skills to learn. I was doing like whatever the basic magic is with the starter staff, and I was using a greatsword, so my greatsword skill was increasing. But there are no classes, so you pick what skills you want to get good at, and you raise them through using those skills. It's a pretty cool system, one that I like a lot. Even though I've said there are no classes, there are two things to mention kind of related to that. You can go to a trainer and essentially tell them that you want to either be a destroyer and or a mage killer. And what that does is it limits your access to magic schools. So you won't be able to use elemental magic, you won't be able to do necromancy, and you won't be able to use arcane magic. But if you're a destroyer, you'll do 40% more damage to anyone holding a staff. And if you're the mage killer, you'll do 20% more damage to anyone holding a bow. So you can essentially trade off some magic skills for increased damage against ranged opponents, which is a pretty cool thing. You can toggle them on and off. You don't lose your magic skills, it just grays them out, so you can't use them while you're either destroyer or mage killer. And I believe you can only turn those off and on in kind of major city areas, major hubs. So you can't just turn them on and off in the middle of combat out in the field. But yeah, classless system based on skills, sign me up. I'm all in for that. I have one small correction to something I said earlier. I said there were over 100 skills when actually it's over 200 skills. So double the amount of skills I originally said. That's a lot of skills. But a few things I hadn't touched on is the game is a single server and it's an open, seamless world. So the only load screens you're going to see are going in and out of dungeons, but those dungeons are shared among everyone on the server. So there's nowhere to hide. I love not having loading. I hate going from one area to another and you have to do loading screen. It's like, it just kills the immersion so much. So this game has a lot of immersion. Even though there's no classes, there are 6 different races that all have their own racial bonuses. The races are like loosely tied to factions, but I believe you can guild with any race. Any race can guild with any other race. So it's not like World of Warcraft where you're locked out based on your race. Additionally, there's going to be siege warfare and naval warfare, and also player housing in over 50 villages. So that's a lot of places to choose from to live. I know a lot of players are big on player housing, so yeah, I don't know if you can have houses in more than one area. You probably can, but housing is important because it gives you an additional recall area. So right when you start out the game, your only recall is to like where you're bound at. But once you get a house, that allows you to recall either to your bind location or to your home location. So it'll help you get around the map a lot based on where your house is. A few things I also wanted to mention before I wrap this up is this is essentially a finished game that's getting a full release. So most of the games I cover on this channel, and just most of the games coming out in general, they come out in early access on Steam. They're in beta, they're in alpha, they're incomplete. Even the ones that have full releases like Winds of Valen, it wasn't a complete game, even though it was a full release. This is a game that's been in development for it's been released for over a decade. It was live from 2009 to 2012. And then there was like Darkfall and Holy Wars from 2012 to I don't know when. And then I think there was one called New Dawn for maybe a year. And then Rise of Agon was actually out for a couple years from maybe 2016 to I don't know when. But the point being, it's been a fully released game in several iterations for years at this point. So you're not getting a game that's content incomplete. You're not getting a game that's going to be riddled with bugs. It's a fully fleshed out, complete game. So it should be a lot better experience than what many other games are. And additionally, what I should mention is this is just the 32-bit server release. They are planning a 64-bit server Steam release in the future. So there's no exact timeline on the 64-bit release. They think it's going to be sometime this year, probably in the next few months, but there's no date given. So the 32-bit server gives you a chance to try out the game for free and see if it's worth it once it releases on Steam. Very important to note, the 32-bit server progress will not transfer over to the Steam release. So you don't want to sink too much time in, but it'd be a great time to learn the systems, learn the game, make some friends, find a guild, all that stuff in anticipation of the full 64-bit Steam release. So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys get a chance to play this game and like it. I know this is the game I always wanted to play back in the day. So I'm really looking forward to diving in and having given this one proper time and seeing if it's really the game for me or not. Either way though, I love when new games come out. I love trying new things and seeing if it's my jam or not. If you played back in the day, go ahead and drop a comment and let me know if you'll be coming back. If you tried it on the past weekend, let me know. If you guys think this is a piece of crap, I guess let me know. But I try to keep it positive that we're here for the most part. But either way, I'm pumped to play this one starting this weekend. I'll see you guys in the game later.